Okay, so I own my own small business, so I kind of have to do everything a lot of the time, marketing and sales and all of that. But mostly, I would consider myself a developer. And as far as like how that relates to webinars and stuff like that, I do think that there is a lot of things that I wouldn't have considered before that might now be an option, and like how to develop relationships and everything. So I think that Webinar Geek is a really good idea. Yeah, so I didn't have like a lot of expectation of what it would be going in, but it lined up with what I would want it to do. I guess I could say like it gives you a really clear flow and you're able to just click right from the homepage to whatever you need to try and do. And it guides you through the process. Really. Yeah, I thought it was really exciting that you could choose your colors for your company and you can upload logos, you can like make it so it is actually feels like it's branded for you and not just 100% like a generic, everyone gets the same exact thing, which I think would be really good. And it gives me a lot of confidence that customers or potential customers that would watch the webinar would value that as well, feeling like it's actually your company. I definitely think if I was doing webinars, Webinar Geek would absolutely be so much better than Zoom. Zoom, it can send out reminders and stuff like that, but it doesn't have like a whole, I mean, maybe there's a way to set it up with Zoom, but it's not made super clear. So like maybe there's like a bunch of stuff I don't know about Zoom, but when you think of Zoom, you think of, oh, I can do like a video call and I can talk to like colleagues or whatever. And yeah, you could hold a meeting that way, but Webinar Geek walks you through, it sets you up intentionally through like having like you can have a sales thing at the end of it. It has reminders and it says, hey, you should probably set up like reminders for people to be there. And they have automated emails that go out to everyone. And it's like, it's intentional for what its purpose is. Whereas Zoom is sort of, you'd have to think through it and like have a lot more planning into it, I think. The only thing that I didn't figure it out when I was using it, but is there's I guess it's like a coming soon screen and it has like this big image on there, like a hero image, you might say. And I couldn't figure out how to change that. Like I would probably want to change that to something that I felt like was relevant to what I would be doing the webinar on, like when making friends or like a group of friends hanging out, something like that as the image. And I just didn't see how to change it. I bet you can, but I didn't see it. So that's like the only time I felt like, I guess confused maybe would be the word. I wasn't like frustrated or anything really, just like, where's that at? Yeah. I think at the very beginning when you got in there, you see these, like at the top, you see webinar starting in. And like, if you go to click those, it sort of guides you in a weird direction there. You think you're about to like go sit in a webinar, but then they're coming up in 10 minutes. So then you click out. So I think there's just a little bit of lack of clarity on that part of it. And it's like, is this my webinar? Am I supposed to get in there and do something? Or is it a hosted webinar? Or is this an on-demand webinar? Which for people that are more familiar with webinars than I am, that's probably not a big concern. But as someone that doesn't do it all the time, I was a little confused by that. Definitely, I think that for someone who's not very technical, if someone just didn't do computers that often and they happened to find Webinar Geek and they just signed in, they'd immediately be guided through the process of setting it up. I don't think there's anything I've seen that actually does that. And I mean, you could go and it would allow you to focus all your time on actually what you want to present. And you have confidence that it's an actual webinar setup. It's not like, oh, is it there gonna be issues with this or that? It even guides you through like Q&As that you might have and stuff like that. So you just get to focus on what you actually know and let Webinar Geek handle the hosting side of it. I really liked the way that it guides you through the setup. I like the idea that you could send the reminder emails and you can like set up multiple of them to remind people to be there. So I guess just the screen guiding, because there's a lot of things that you might not even think of. And I like that Webinar kind of nudges you into the right direction for everything that would make you successful in a webinar instead of just kind of letting like if you go to certain places, it'll give you a lot of options on the screen and you can go do all those things, right? But a lot of places, they don't guide you to the things that are actually going to have good impact for you. You kind of have to click and you've done that, but if you don't look at the other things, they'll never be presented to you, so you won't even realize what you're missing. I don't feel like Webinar Geek has a problem. I feel like it guides you in that direction, especially with the emails and the sales funnels and the Q&As. I wouldn't have thought of it. Yeah, I would tell like a friend that was interested in doing webinars, I would definitely now tell them, check out Webinar Geek. It's a good place to like do all that, especially if they don't like, if my mom, she's really good with Etsy stuff and she's creative and she puts things together, but she doesn't know computers. And I feel like if it was before this, I would have had to sit there and do like 6 hours of work to help her figure out how to do everything. But if she went to that website, I feel confident that she would be able to. I'd tell her, Mom, if you go to WebinarGeek, you log in, you're going to be able to go through this entire process without me even having to be there. No one's going to have to hold your hand, and you're going to have a webinar set up. Your only problem is you got to figure out what you're going to say when you get there. Yeah, I would say WebinarGeek is very beginner friendly. And I would say the best person to try WebinarGeek is someone that's never done a webinar before, but has ideas that they've wanted to put into a webinar, and probably someone, that just doesn't already have a big plan for it, but has a lot of ideas. Final thoughts on the site. I would say that they're doing a really cool thing. It's a really good idea, and it'll probably allow a lot of people that would otherwise have their ideas kind of stuck in their head and never really get them out there, to allow them to actually put those out to the public. And I think that's a really good thing that a company can do for people.